we start to talk about the urinary system and our friends, the kidneys, today. The urinary system is deceptively simple because it has very few organs in it. Of course, a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, the urinary bladder, and the urethra. And of course, the major function of it is to remove metabolic waste from the circulatory system and then get them out of the body, or get that out of the body. Amazingly, every 45 minutes, every drop of your blood has gone through the kidneys and been filtered. And that's going to happen approximately 400 times a day. The other functions of the urinary system include regulating blood volume and therefore regulating blood pressure, stabilizing blood pH because it is going to control the concentration of both hydrogen and bicarbonate ions. In addition, it is going to regulate the concentrations of ions in plasma. It's going to have a direct impact on how many of those and what amounts of those are dumped in urine. It will prevent the excretion of nutrients and at the same time get rid of organic wastes, including urea and uric acid. It is going to aid the liver in detoxification, and it will also deaminate amino acids in periods of starvation and dump those ammonia groups out of the body. Last but certainly not least, you'll remember that the kidneys are going to play a role in the production of erythrocytes because it is the site of production of, the kidneys are the site of production of erythropoietin, a hormone that is responsible for triggering the production of red blood cells. Of course, as I mentioned, the system is going to regulate blood volume and therefore blood pressure. And that's going to be because it's going to have a direct impact on the volume of water that's lost in urine or not. Renin is the enzyme that is going to play a role in that process. It is released by cells of what are known as the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxta for around, glomerular for the glomerulus. An apparatus is because there's this structure around the glomerulus that does a couple of things, including producing and secreting renin. And you'll remember that renin is going to convert angiotensin to angiotensin 1 in that cascade that includes ACE and what hormone? We'll talk about that in class. We've already gone over the urinary organs. Now, let's do a quick review of the kidneys and their gross anatomy. They are placed fairly high on the posterior abdominal wall, relatively speaking. They are surrounded by fat for insulation and protection and padding. You'll remember that they are retroperitoneal. The right kidney's position is slightly lower than the one on the left. Why might that be? If you can't figure it out, we'll go over it in class. Now, when you talk about the gross anatomy, there's actually a good video listed there, which is a man who is quite good at art, drawing out the structure of the kidney and going over each of these structures within it. The renal capsule is going to be fibrous connective tissue that is a shell or covering of the kidney. It provides a place where the kidney can be anchored, and it is also going to help protect the kidney and allow it to maintain its shape. The kidney itself, the internal kidney, is going to be divided into the outermost cortex and the innermost medulla. Within the medulla are these cone or pyramidal shaped masses of tissue, which are conveniently known as the renal pyramids. We know that the ureters are going to connect the kidneys to the bladder. The renal pelvis is actually this funnel-shaped structure at the superior end of the ureter. The major calyces will drain into that, and minor calyces will merge to form major calyces. So those structures are going to drain urine into the renal pelvis. So here we have it. Remember that it's kidney bean shaped conveniently. This in turn, this sort of indentation here is concavity is the renal hilum. Here's the renal cortex. This whole part in through here is the renal medulla. Each of these is a pyramid. They look like triangles on a drawing, but they are actually pyramidal or cone-like in shape. In between each of the pyramids is a structure which is known as the renal pyramid. You can see a minor calyx here, and the minor calyces are going to merge to form a major calyx, and the major calyces will all merge to form the renal pelvis. I like this picture because it shows you what happens with the urine. Here's our friend the nephron, which is the microscopic functional unit of the kidney. They will dump urine into the collecting duct. Collecting duct will dump urine into what's known as a papillary duct. That's a nice to know, which will dump urine into a minor calyx, will dump urine into a major calyx, which will dump the urine into the renal pelvis, which will carry it down to the ureter, and the ureter will carry the urine down to the urinary bladder, and then it will be expelled from the body through the urethra. Again, functions of the kidney look a lot like the functions of the urinary system as a whole, because we know we need to remove metabolic wastes from the circulatory system and get them out of the body. It's going to also maintain blood because it maintains blood pressure. Remember, renin. It's going to help control blood volume. Remember, ADH. It is going to control blood composition, and it is going to control blood pH. In addition, as I mentioned, it is going to regulate the formation of erythrocytes because of the hormone erythropoietin. So this, my friends, is a nephron. And let me give you a quick review of this before we go any further. So you'll see that you have sort of this cup-like structure around this ball of capillaries. That cup-like structure is known as the glomerular capsule, labeled there. This is the glomerulus, which is not labeled. Glomerulus is a ball of capillaries. This whole structure together, the glomerulus and the glomerular capsule, is known as the renal corpuscle. The glomerular capsule is going to lead into the renal tubule, which you can see here and 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 here. The proximal part of the tubule, in other words, the part that is closest to the glomerulus, is known as the proximal convoluted tubule. No surprise that if there's a proximal convoluted tubule, there will also be a distal convoluted tubule, which will be just before the collecting duct and will lead into the collecting duct. Here's our collecting duct. And then this loopy thing is known as the nephron loop, or the loop of Henle. Loop of Henle, and Henle is capital Henle, loop of Henle. And you will also see that there is this very dense network of capillaries that are all around the tubule. One moment, please. Sorry, I'm getting all choked up about it. Those are known as peritubular capillaries, and they form a network around the tubule. So the next slide is all about the nephron, and we're going to continue on with that in the next section.